So what then are the components of a good research? It's important that we focus on the elements that ensure that a research is thorough. Not just thorough, that the research is also credible. Not just credible, that the research contributes significantly to knowledge. So these are some of the things that make up a good research. Now, number one element that makes up a good research is clear research question or hypothesis. When you are planning a research, ask yourself, does it answer any question, any research question? Or what hypothesis is this research trying, or is it trying to meet, or is it trying to take care of? What gap is there in research that have been done before? And that is why I tell students that you have to read. And I think we've read a lot of papers already, and there are still more to read. You have to read papers that others have published, so that you can also use that one, the gaps they have in their own, the question you see, you're asking them, use it to form your own research. Another element of a good research is comprehensive literature review. You have to review literature very well so that you can see the gaps that are existing in previous researches that have been done. And we have demonstrated that already by reading and reviewing different papers, even though some people just look at only aspect of it, they don't look at the nitty-gritty. Another element of a good research is sound methodology. Now you want to do a research, you must have a good method you want to follow based on what some other people have done. So you also have your own methodology that you follow, that you adhere to. That is the third aspect of a good research. Another one is replicability. Any research you are doing must be reproducible. Not that you do research and somebody also does it somewhere or cannot do it somewhere. Any research you do here, you write the method, somebody must be able to do it somewhere else and get similar results, if not exactly the same, with yours. Then another aspect of a good research is ethical consideration. Your research must look at, you want to solve a small problem. Are you going to create a bigger problem? So if in the process of solving a small problem, you are going to create a bigger problem, then you should leave the small problem unsolved, because you are trying to create a big problem with small ones. So that is, look at the ethical consideration. Then data collection and analysis. We had a presentation here in our university some weeks ago. The person that presented table with some figures inside. Data was not analyzed. He didn't use ANOVA, nothing was, he just put the figures there. And I was telling him, he was arguing. And this ought not to be that way. Please, let's mute please mute yourself, please. Please mute yourself. Or Jamie, help me to mute people that are not muted. So the next component of a good research is data collection and analysis. I've said that. Then innovative thinking. It is not everything you will find in a book. You understand? You yourself, you are a material. You should know that. You yourself, you are a resource person, you are a material. So you must think innovatively and let it show in your research. Then there's also the need for critical interpretation of results. You have some results, you must be able to interpret them critically. That, okay, this is because of this, this is this, and this should be here, this should be here, this should be here. Apart from this, thorough documentation. All the things you have used in your research must be well documented, because anybody can request to see them. That is why we talk about pictures, talk about different things, because some people can say, you didn't do it, you just went to formulate results. You show them pictures and say, well, see, I did this. Then the next thing is contribution to knowledge. Your research must contribute to knowledge. And the last but not the least is acknowledgement of limitation. You must know that you are limited and state it. Then clear and effective communication. Then peer review and collaboration. Then strong conclusion and recommendation. These and many more are the elements of a good research. Then funding and resource management. How do you manage the fund? How are you going to manage the money you get to? Then are you going to adhere to timelines? There are timelines for every research. Is your research adhering to those timelines or not? These and many more are the key elements of a good research. So, or we are hearing them, something is breaking. Let's assume it's going to be a defense you are doing. Is that how there will be breakage? So you must take care of all these things. Clear communication. Research is about communication. I told a student yesterday that, or 2 days ago, that research is not just about entering the lab and working in the lab. It is about your ability to communicate. You talk to people. What you have done, you tell them, just like we have done now. Research is communication. You have done the research. Now, I'm not blaming anybody for the technical issues. You are unable to share your slide. You are unable to network or anything. I'm not blaming anyone. Anything can happen. But at the same time, you ought to have tested everything that you want to use. You test it with maybe somebody else is there. Can you hear me? What about the way I am? What about the lightning? What about everything? What about this? What about that? Some people were presenting and they were facing, the camera was facing like this. You can see the way I am now. The camera is facing the window. If the camera is facing the window and you are backing the window, light is coming from the window. So the light is not going to shine on your face. What you should do in this case is you face this area. So this is the window in my front here. The window is in my front. So the light is coming from the window and shining on my face. You can see this is brighter. So you cannot see the window. Some people were presenting, I was seeing their window and light was entering. There's no how we are going to be able to see your face clearly. So these and many more are part and parcel. Though as you can see now, you can't see my face clearly because I'm showing the window. So the light coming from the window, which is supposed to shine on my face, is shining. The camera is facing it and blocking it. So this way is better. It's very clear now because you block the window. So all these things we are learning, and then how to share the slide, how to share your screen. You can check that online. Everybody, we are learning. Everybody that can do all these things today, they practice it or they learned it or they've been using it before, and then that's how they get to do it. So peer review and collaboration are elements of a good research. Then other elements I've mentioned, which I just want to buttress, are acknowledgement of limitations, contribution to knowledge. The research should aim to fill a gap in existing knowledge. The research should challenge current understanding or provide practical applications. You can see a lady talk about tomato, that she wants to preserve tomato, and she was saying that she will take something and be rubbing the tomato one after the other. And the professor that was there said, okay, how much is this thing you say you produce, this enzyme that you produce to take care of tomato? She could not say the cost. Now, let's say tomato is 20 rupee or 200 naira or 2,000 naira. What you want to use on it, tomato is 20 rupee. What you want to use to preserve a tomato is 200 rupee. Is that economical? No, all the farmers will throw it away. If the tomato want to spoil, let it spoil. How can we use 200 rupee something that will preserve preservative to preserve 20 rupee tomato? So how much are you going to sell the tomato to the people that want to buy it? So based on this, you must look at all this and be able to put things in perspective. So that is contribution to knowledge. It must contribute to knowledge. That one that is, if it's too expensive, of what contribution is that? And applicability, practical applications, that work do not look at that, because the work was saying that they would take something like a swab stick and dip it in the preservative and be rubbing the face of the tomato. How many tomato are you going to rub like that if you are taking it one after the other? One basket of tomato can contain like maybe 500 pieces. So for one basket, you will not sit down and be doing all of them one after the other like that. So you are painting it. Why can't you have a solution of the preservative and then pour tomato into it, or to just go through and glance to the other side, and then the preservative is on it, and the preservative should be very, very cheap. So in your own work too, all these things, you factor it into it. If you are trying to solve a problem, don't create another problem that is more than the problem you are solving. You understand? So that is practicability. It should have a clear contribution to the field. And that is why we're having this webinar. We'll have said, okay, let's come together and meet. Now everybody will come. In Nigeria, there's fuel is expensive. You will not be traveling, spending like 2,000 naira. all the data you use for this webinar, it cannot be more than 200 or 300, 200 or 300 naira. And then everybody that presented will have benefited. So the same way in your research, it must be in a way that it will be the cheapest so that people